Hey there, welcome to Dr. Pickleface, the place for crazy stories you won't forget. If you like big surprises, wild drama, and little sweet revenge, you're in the right spot. Subscribe and jump into tales that will make you gasp, laugh, and keep you watching for more. Fun characters, shocking twists, and endings that feel so good. That's Dr. Pickleface. Hit the bell and let's start the fun.
This can't be real.
The spreadsheet cell glowed red. Alden Clark adjusted his wire-rimmed glasses and leaned closer to his home office monitor. Transaction ID 4477B showed a $9,000 transfer from their joint savings to something called Car Consulting Services. He'd never heard of it. Marissa certainly hadn't mentioned hiring any consultants. His finger hovered over the mouse as he scrolled through 3 months of flagged expenses. Luxury hotel charges at the Meridian downtown. Cash withdrawals of $500 every Tuesday. Restaurant bills for two at places they'd never been together. The pattern emerged like a mathematical proof. Elegant, undeniable, devastating. 23 years of marriage reduced to numbers on a screen. Alden pulled up their joint credit card statements next. More hotels, more restaurants. A jewelry purchase for $2,847 at Cartier. He remembered Marissa's reaction when he'd complimented her new necklace last month. "This old thing?" she'd said, touching the gold chain. "I've had it forever." His hands remained steady as he printed everything. Emotion was inefficient. Rage was a luxury he couldn't afford. Not yet. The garage door rumbled open downstairs. Marissa's BMW pulled into the driveway with its familiar purr. Alden closed the financial software and opened his client files, transforming back into the methodical CPA his wife expected to find. "Honey, I'm home," Marissa called from the kitchen. Her voice carried that forced cheerfulness she'd been using lately, the tone people adopt when they're hiding something significant. "How was the Henderson property showing?" Alden asked, appearing in the kitchen doorway. Marissa kicked off her heels and loosened her blazer. Even at 41, she maintained the polished appearance that had first attracted him in college. Blonde hair perfectly styled, makeup flawless despite the long day. She worked hard to look effortless. "Exhausting," she said, opening the wine fridge. "The buyers were incredibly demanding, wanted to see every unit in the complex twice." Another lie. The Henderson property had been sold 3 weeks ago. Alden had verified it through public records that afternoon. "Which units did they like best?" he asked. "The corner ones, naturally. Everyone wants corner units." Marissa poured herself a glass of Chardonnay without offering him any. "How was your day? Any exciting tax returns?" "The Patterson audit wrapped up. Clean books, which is rare these days." "That's nice, dear." She wasn't listening. Her phone buzzed on the counter and her eyes darted to it immediately. The screen showed a text preview. "Can't wait to see you, Tom," before she snatched it away. "Work?" Alden asked. "Always." Marissa's laugh sounded rehearsed. "I need to shower. Long day, you know." She hurried upstairs, phone clutched in her manicured fingers. Alden heard the bathroom door lock, something she'd never done in their early years together. That night, he lay awake, listening to her breathe. Marissa had always been a light sleeper, but recently she'd started taking melatonin. She'd mentioned it casually, claiming work stress was keeping her up. At 2:17 a.m., her phone buzzed on the nightstand. The screen illuminated briefly, showing another message notification. Marissa didn't stir. Alden memorized the time and settled back into his pillow. Tomorrow, he would begin gathering evidence. Not for a dramatic confrontation or tearful reconciliation. Those were the tools of emotional people, and emotional people made mistakes. No, Alden would build a case the way he built financial models, methodically, comprehensively, without room for error. The next morning, Marissa left for another property showing. Alden gave her 30 minutes, then drove to Best Buy. "I need a keylogger," he told the young salesman in the Geek Squad section. "Something discreet for monitoring employee computer usage." "Hardware or software-based?" the kid asked. "What's more reliable?" "Hardware's harder to detect. Looks like a regular USB adapter." Alden purchased 2 devices and a small laptop. Back home, he installed the keylogger on Marissa's desktop computer in their shared home office. The second device went on her work laptop, hidden behind a tangle of charger cables. The waiting began. That evening, Marissa claimed another late showing. Alden cooked dinner for one and reviewed the day's keylogger data on his new laptop. Mostly work emails and client communications, but at 3:47 p.m., she'd logged into a Gmail account he'd never seen before. Always, yours M. 2024@gmail.com. The account contained 6 months of correspondence with someone named Simon Carr. Alden's jaw tightened as he read through their messages. Simon, missing you already. Can't focus on the Riverside project. Marissa, you're sweet, but you better focus. That commission could buy us a nice weekend in Napa. Simon, speaking of money, have you thought more about what we discussed, about your situation? Marissa, I'm working on it. These things take time. Alden's not stupid, just predictable. Simon, the sooner you're free, the sooner we can be together properly. I hate sneaking around. Marissa, trust me, I want out too, but I need to do this right. Make sure I get what I deserve after 23 years. Alden scrolled through weeks of similar exchanges. They had met when Marissa handled the leasing for one of Simon's commercial developments. The affair had started 8 months ago, but the relationship had clearly progressed beyond physical attraction. They were planning his financial destruction. Simon, my lawyer says California's community property laws are pretty clear. You'd be entitled to half of everything, plus alimony given the length of the marriage. Marissa, what about his retirement accounts? Simon, those too, if you handle the divorce right. The key is documenting that he's the higher earner and you've sacrificed career advancement for the marriage. Marissa, that shouldn't be hard to prove. I've been supportive wife for over 2 decades while he focused on building his practice. Simon, perfect. And with my connections in real estate, we could easily hide some assets if needed. Make sure you get your fair share. Alden closed the laptop and walked to his kitchen. He poured himself 3 fingers of bourbon, the first alcohol he'd consumed in months. 23 years, 2 miscarriages that nearly broke them both. Countless nights when he'd held her while she cried about their inability to have children. Family vacations, anniversary dinners, quiet Sunday mornings reading the newspaper together, all of it orchestrated to position herself for maximum financial gain when she abandoned ship. He drained the glass and poured another. By morning, his emotional reaction had crystallized into something far more dangerous: complete clarity. Alden called his office and canceled his appointments for the week. Then he drove across town to a strip mall detective agency with faded lettering and bulletproof glass. Trevor Malick looked exactly like what Central Casting would order for retired cop turned private investigator. 55 years old, gray mustache, suspicious eyes, and a handshake that could crack walnuts. Marriage problems? Malick asked, settling behind a desk covered in case files. You could say that. Cheating spouse? Among other things. Malick leaned back in his chair. What kind of evidence do you need? Everything. Financial records, phone logs, surveillance photos, hotel receipts. I want to know everywhere they go, everyone they talk to, every dollar they spend. That's expensive. Alden placed a cashier's check on the desk. $5,000 to start. More if needed. Malick examined the check. What's your timeline? No rush. I want this done thoroughly. Most guys in your situation want results yesterday. Most guys in my situation aren't accountants. Alden stood to leave. I'll call you next week. What if I find something ugly? Alden paused at the door. Mr. Malick, I'm counting on it. The surveillance operation began immediately. Malick's team installed GPS trackers on both Marissa's car and Simon's silver Porsche. They identified Simon Carr as a mid-level commercial real estate developer with offices in 3 states and a reputation for aggressive deal-making. More interestingly, they discovered Simon was married. Tasha Carr was a dermatologist with her own practice in Beverly Hills. 43 years old, no children, and apparently unaware of her husband's extracurricular activities. According to Malick's research, she'd bankrolled Simon's business expansion with her medical practice profits. The wife seems clean, Malick reported during their weekly meeting. Keeps regular hours, active in charity work, plays tennis at the country club. Very different lifestyle from her husband. Different how? He's flashy, designer suits, expensive restaurants, leases a new luxury car every year. She drives a 3-year-old Honda and brings lunch to work in brown bags. Either she doesn't know about his spending habits or she doesn't approve. Alden filed this information away. Every detail mattered. The hotel surveillance proved particularly enlightening. Marissa and Simon met twice weekly at the Meridian downtown, always booking the same executive suite. They arrived separately and never stayed longer than 3 hours. But it was the financial investigation that revealed the real prize. Your wife's boyfriend has been cooking books, Malik explained, spreading documents across the table. His company shows profits of $2 million last year, but the actual cash flow tells a different story. Alden studied the bank statements and tax filings. Shell companies? At least 6 that I can identify. He's been moving client funds through a network of fake entities, skimming development fees and hiding them in offshore accounts. Federal crime? Multiple federal crimes? Wire fraud, tax evasion, money laundering? The FBI would be very interested in this information. Alden photographed every document. What about civil liability? His investors could sue for everything. The man's building houses of cards with other people's money. That evening, Alden created detailed financial models showing Simon's fraudulent operations. The numbers painted a clear picture of systematic theft spanning 3 years. Client funds diverted, development costs inflated, profits hidden in Cayman Island accounts. Simon Carr wasn't just a cheating husband. He was a career criminal who'd been stealing from his investors while seducing other men's wives. Alden began drafting anonymous complaints to the Internal Revenue Service, the FBI's Financial Crimes Division, and the California Department of Real Estate, but he held off on filing them. Timing was crucial. Instead, he focused on Simon's personal life. The Carrs lived in a 12,000-square-foot mansion in Malibu with ocean views and a 3-car garage. According to property records, they'd purchased it 2 years ago for $4.2 million, money that came from Tasha's medical practice. Simon had contributed nothing to the down payment. Alden drove past their house on a Saturday morning, noting the security cameras and landscaping schedule. A middle-aged woman in tennis whites was pulling out of the driveway in the Honda Civic. Dr. Tasha Carr looked nothing like her husband's type. Where Marissa was polished and attention-seeking, Tasha appeared natural and understated. Pretty in a scholarly way, with graying brown hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. She looked like someone who worked for a living. That afternoon, Alden called Tasha's medical office. West Side Dermatology, this is Jennifer. I'd like to schedule a consultation with Dr. Carr, Alden said. I've been referred by several people for a suspicious mole. We have an opening next Thursday at 2 o'clock. Perfect. Alden arrived at the medical office 10 minutes early, wearing a button-down shirt and khakis that suggested suburban respectability. The office was clean and professional, with medical journals in the waiting room and diplomas covering the walls. Dr. Tasha Carr entered the examination room with a warm smile and firm handshake. Mr. Clark, I understand you're concerned about a mole. She was prettier in person than in the surveillance photos. Intelligent eyes, gentle manner, the kind of competence that comes from years of medical training. Actually, Alden said, I need to talk to you about your husband. Her expression shifted immediately. The professional warmth disappeared, replaced by wariness. I'm sorry. My name is Alden Clark. My wife is Marissa Clark. I believe you should know that your husband has been having an affair with her for 8 months. Tasha's hands went still. She'd been reaching for her tablet computer, but her fingers froze above the screen. I think you should leave, she said quietly. I have evidence. Mr. Clark, they meet twice a week at the Meridian Hotel downtown, Executive Suite 1247. They've been planning to divorce both of us and combine their assets. Tasha sat down heavily in the consultation chair. Her face had gone pale beneath her light makeup. This is not appropriate. Your husband has been stealing from his real estate clients, Alden continued. Wire fraud, tax evasion, money laundering. The FBI is going to arrest him within the next few weeks. Stop. Her voice was barely audible. Alden placed a manila envelope on the examination table. Hotel receipts, bank statements, photographs, email transcripts. Everything you need to protect yourself financially before his house of cards collapses. Tasha stared at the envelope like it might contain anthrax. Why are you telling me this? Because you don't deserve what's coming. You've worked hard for everything you have. My wife and your husband are planning to destroy both of us to benefit themselves. You could be lying. Look at the evidence. Tasha opened the envelope with trembling fingers. The first photograph showed Simon and Marissa entering the hotel together, her hand on his arm, both laughing at some private joke. She flipped through several more images, then set them aside and picked up the bank statements. Her medical training showed as she methodically reviewed each document. absorbing the financial details with professional precision. "These offshore accounts," she said finally. "I've never seen them before. Your husband has been hiding assets for years. When the federal investigation begins, they'll freeze everything, including your house, your practice accounts, anything in joint names." Tasha's hands shook as she continued reading. "We just refinanced the house. Took out a second mortgage for his business expansion." "Which business expansion?" "The Portland development. He said it was a sure thing that we'd triple our investment within 18 months. Alden consulted his notes. "There is no Portland development. The property he showed you was sold to another developer 6 months ago." She closed her eyes. When she opened them again, tears had gathered in the corners. "How long have you known?" "About the affair." 3 weeks. About the financial crimes? 1 week? What do you want from me? Help. Help doing what? Alden leaned forward slightly. "Destroying them before they destroy us." Tasha was quiet for a long moment, staring at the photographs of her husband with another woman. "I need time to think," she said finally. "Time is the one thing we don't have. Simon's about to disappear with millions of dollars that belong to other people. If you wait too long, you'll lose everything. This is my marriage." "No," Alden said gently. "Your marriage ended 8 months ago. You just didn't know it yet." She looked up at him then, and he saw something shift in her expression. The grief was still there, but underneath it was something harder. "What exactly are you proposing?" "A coordinated response. You file for divorce immediately, citing irreconcilable differences. Freeze all joint accounts. I'll trigger the federal investigation at the same time, which will tie up his hidden assets. What about your wife? Marissa will discover that planning someone's financial ruin can be a dangerous game." Tasha gathered the documents and photographs, tucking them back into the envelope. "I need 24 hours. "Of course." She stood to leave, then turned back. "Mr. Clark, how did you find out?" "I'm an accountant," Alden said. "I notice when numbers don't add up." The next evening, Tasha called his cell phone. "I'm in," she said. "What do we do first?" Phase 2 began immediately. Tasha retained the best divorce attorney in Los Angeles, a woman named Catherine Hayes who specialized in high-asset divorces involving hidden income. Hayes had helped wives of several Hollywood producers and tech executives recover millions in concealed assets. "The key is moving fast," Hayes explained during their strategy session. "Once we file, he'll try to hide everything. We need to identify and freeze his accounts before he knows what's happening." Alden provided detailed financial intelligence on Simon's shell companies and offshore accounts. Combined with Tasha's inside knowledge of their joint finances, they built a comprehensive picture of his fraudulent empire. Meanwhile, Alden prepared his federal complaint. The IRS would be first. They moved quickly on tax evasion cases and had the authority to freeze assets immediately. The FBI Financial Crimes Division would follow, along with civil complaints from Simon's defrauded investors. "When do we file?" Tasha asked. "Next Friday," Alden said. "Simon and Marissa are planning a romantic weekend in Reno. Hotel security will record them together, providing additional evidence of the affair." "How do you know their travel plans?" "I've been monitoring their communications." Tasha raised an eyebrow but didn't ask for details. The week passed slowly. Marissa continued her charade of normalcy, claiming late meetings and difficult clients while secretly coordinating with Simon. Their electronic communications revealed increasingly detailed discussions about their post-divorce life together. "Simon, found a perfect place in Santa Barbara. Ocean views, private beach access. We could be there by Christmas." Marissa, "Assuming everything goes smoothly with the divorces." Simon, "Your husband won't fight it. Accountants are predictable. Show him the numbers. He'll sign whatever you put in front of him." Marissa, "What about Tasha?" Simon, "She'll be devastated but cooperative. Too much of a bleeding heart to make it ugly." Marissa, famous last words. Simon, "Trust me, I know my wife. She'll take the settlement and disappear quietly." Friday morning arrived gray and drizzly. Marissa packed a small suitcase, claiming a weekend conference in Sacramento. "Real estate law updates," she explained, kissing Alden's cheek. "Boring stuff, but I need the continuing education credits. Drive safely." "I will. Love you." The lie rolled off her tongue effortlessly. Alden waited until her BMW disappeared down their street, then called Trevor Malick. "They're heading to Reno," Alden confirmed. "Presidential suite at the Silver Legacy. My guy's already in position. We'll have everything documented. Good. Execute phase 2 at exactly 6 p.m. At 5:45 p.m., Alden filed his federal complaints online. Tax evasion, wire fraud, money laundering, 17 separate charges supported by months of financial evidence. At 5:50 p.m., Tasha's attorney filed for emergency dissolution of marriage, requesting immediate asset freezes and temporary restraining orders. At 6 p.m., IRS agents arrived at Simon's offices with search warrants. At 6:15 p.m., FBI agents knocked on the door of Presidential Suite 2847 at the Silver Legacy Casino Resort. Malik called Alden that evening with a report. They were in bed when the feds showed up. Your wife answered the door in a hotel bathrobe while Carr hid in the bathroom like a teenager. Did they arrest him? Not yet. Just questioned them separately and confiscated his electronics. But they froze his bank accounts and seized his business records. How did Marissa react? Confused at first, then angry, started demanding to call a lawyer. The agents told her she wasn't under arrest, but might want to contact legal representation anyway. And Simon? Completely panicked, kept asking about plea deals and witness protection. The man folded like origami. Alden allowed himself a small smile. What's next? They'll spend the weekend in separate hotel rooms while lawyers sort through the evidence. Neither of them is going anywhere soon. Saturday morning, Alden's phone rang at 7:23 a.m. Alden, it's me. Marissa's voice was shaky and tired. How's the conference? Cut the act. I know you know. Know what? The FBI agents showed me photographs of our house. They've been watching me for weeks. Alden poured himself coffee and settled into his kitchen chair. That's concerning. This isn't funny. They're saying Simon's committed federal crimes. They want to know about my involvement. Are you involved? Of course not. I barely know him. Really? Because the hotel records show you've been meeting him twice a week for 8 months. Silence on the other end of the line. Alden, I've filed for divorce, Marissa. Catherine Hayes is handling it. You'll be served with papers on Monday. You can't be serious. I'm very serious, and I'm keeping the house. We need to talk about this rationally. 23 years, Marissa. 23 years I supported you while you built your career. Held you through 2 miscarriages. Paid for your mother's cancer treatments. Worked 60-hour weeks so you could take time off when your father died. His voice remained calm, conversational. I never forgot our anniversary. Never missed a birthday. Never looked at another woman. And you repaid me by planning my financial destruction with a criminal. It wasn't like that. The emails say otherwise. Alden's not stupid, just predictable. Remember writing that? More silence. I want half of everything, Marissa said finally. California law doesn't apply to wives who commit adultery while conspiring to defraud their husbands. Check with your attorney. Alden hung up. Sunday evening, Tasha called with an update. Simon came home this afternoon, she reported. He's locked himself in his office, making phone calls to lawyers. How are you holding up? Better than expected. I filed a malpractice insurance claim this morning. Apparently, some of his business activities could create liability for the medical practice. Smart thinking. 20 years of marriage teaches you to protect yourself. Monday brought a flurry of legal activity. Marissa was served divorce papers at her office, creating a spectacle that her coworkers would gossip about for months. Simon received his own set of legal documents, including asset freezes and a temporary restraining order preventing him from contacting his wife. But the real excitement came Tuesday morning. Federal marshals arrested Simon Carr at his office, Malik reported. Wire fraud, tax evasion, conspiracy to commit money laundering. The whole package. Bail? $2 million. His accounts are frozen, so he's stuck in federal lockup until someone posts bond. What about his investors? Lawyering up and filing civil suits. The man's about to be buried in litigation. Alden felt a deep satisfaction settle in his chest. Phase 2 was complete. Phase 3 would be more personal. That evening, Marissa showed up at their house unannounced. She looked haggard, hair unwashed, makeup smeared, wearing the same clothes from the weekend. We need to talk, she said, pushing past him into the living room. Actually, we don't. All communication goes through attorneys now. I'm still your wife. You're my soon-to-be ex-wife who's been committing adultery and fraud. Marissa collapsed onto their sofa. the one they'd picked out together during their second year of marriage. I never meant for it to go this far, she said. Which part? The adultery or the conspiracy to steal my retirement savings? Simon said the divorce would be amicable, that we could work everything out fairly. Simon's a career criminal who's facing 20 years in federal prison. She started crying then, the kind of dramatic sobbing she'd used to manipulate him during arguments over the years. I was lonely, Alden. You work all the time. We never talk anymore. We haven't been intimate in months. We haven't been intimate because you've been sleeping with someone else. It just happened. I didn't plan it. Alden sat in the chair across from her, maintaining careful distance. The emails suggest otherwise. I want out too, but I need to do this right. Make sure I get what I deserve after 23 years. Marissa's tears stopped abruptly. You've been reading my private messages? I've been investigating my wife's criminal conspiracy. Criminal conspiracy? I never committed any crimes. Conspiracy to commit wire fraud is a federal felony, so is knowingly receiving proceeds from illegal financial activities. Her face went pale. What are you talking about? The jewelry, the hotel rooms, the expensive dinners. Simon paid for everything with stolen client funds. That makes you an accessory after the fact. I didn't know. The emails show you discussed his business dealings extensively. You knew exactly where the money was coming from. Marissa stood up suddenly, pacing to the window overlooking their backyard. What do you want? She asked. I want you to disappear. Disappear? Move out. Sign the divorce papers. Don't contest anything. Or what? Or I turn my evidence over to the federal prosecutors. They're very interested in your relationship with Simon. She turned to face him. You're bluffing. I'm an accountant, Marissa. I don't bluff. I calculate risks and make rational decisions. 23 years of marriage means nothing to you? It meant everything to me, past tense. She grabbed her purse and headed for the door. This isn't over, she said. Yes, it is. 2 weeks later, Simon made bail using money borrowed from his elderly mother. The federal charges meant he couldn't leave the state, and the asset freezes left him essentially broke, but Alden wasn't finished. He'd been monitoring Simon's communications from jail, and the man was planning something desperate. Phone calls to former business associates in Las Vegas, mentions of emergency funds and temporary solutions. Simon was planning to run. Alden called Malik on a Thursday evening. I need a favor, he said. What kind of favor? The kind that never gets discussed afterward. I'm listening. Simon's going to try to access hidden cash this weekend. Probably meeting someone at the Port District. I want him followed. Just followed for now. Saturday night at 11:47 p.m., Malik called with coordinates. Warehouse District, Pier 49. He's meeting someone in a black SUV. Alden drove across town through empty streets. The port area was industrial and isolated, perfect for clandestine transactions. He parked 3 blocks away and walked along the waterfront, staying in shadows between streetlights. The warehouse Malik had identified sat at the end of a dead-end street, surrounded by chain-link fencing. Simon's Porsche was parked beside a loading dock. Through grimy windows, Alden could see 2 figures inside the building. He called his brother, Leo. I need backup, Alden said simply. Where? Leo Clark was 2 years younger than Alden, but looked like he could bench press a pickup truck. 20 years as an auto mechanic had built shoulders like a linebacker and hands that could crush beer cans. Pier 49. Come alone. On my way. Leo arrived 15 minutes later with 2 friends from his garage, both large, quiet men who asked no questions. What's the play? Leo asked. Simon Carr is about to flee the country with stolen money. We're going to prevent that. Legally? More or less. The 4 men approached the warehouse from different angles. Alden entered through an unlocked side door, while Leo and his friends covered the exits. Inside, Simon was concluding a transaction with a man in expensive leather jacket. Briefcases full of cash sat on a workbench between them. Passport will get you to Mexico City, the man was saying. From there, you're on your own. What about the heat? Simon asked. FBI's focused on the financial stuff. They won't expect you to run until after trial. Perfect. Alden stepped out of the shadows. Going somewhere, Simon? Both men spun around. Simon's face went white when he recognized his lover's husband. Clark! What are you doing here? Stopping you from fleeing justice. The man in the leather jacket reached inside his coat, but Leo appeared behind him like a mountain of muscle. Easy there, partner, Leo said, removing a pistol from the man's shoulder holster. Nobody needs to get shot tonight. You can't do this, Simon protested. This is kidnapping. This is a citizen's arrest, Alden corrected. You're fleeing prosecution on federal charges. You have no authority. I have evidence of your flight risk and conspiracy to evade justice. That's all the authority I need. Leo's friends secured the stranger while Leo collected the briefcases of cash. Looks like about $200,000, Leo reported. Stolen client funds, Alden said. It goes back to the victims. Simon lunged for his phone, but Alden caught his wrist easily. No phone calls, Simon, no lawyers. No more lies. What do you want? Justice. Alden zip-tied Simon's hands behind his back and forced him into a metal folding chair. 3 years, Alden said. 3 years you've been stealing from your clients, teachers' pension funds, retirement savings, money people worked their entire lives to accumulate. I was going to pay it back. With what? More stolen money? Business is cyclical. I just needed time. You needed time to seduce my wife and plan my financial destruction. Simon's confidence cracked completely. Look, about Marissa, tell me about Marissa. It wasn't serious, just physical. A distraction. The emails suggest otherwise. Women read too much into these things. I never promised her anything permanent. Alden studied Simon's face in the dim warehouse lighting. Even now, caught red-handed with stolen money and false identity documents, the man was trying to manipulate the situation. You told her you loved her, Alden said. I told her what she needed to hear. You convinced her to help destroy her own marriage. She was already unhappy. I just provided an alternative. An alternative that required stealing my assets. Simon shrugged as much as his restraints allowed. Community property laws are public knowledge. She would have been entitled to half anyway. Unless she committed adultery and conspiracy. Good luck proving conspiracy. Alden pulled out his phone and played a recorded conversation. Simon's voice. The key is documentation. Make sure you can prove he neglected you emotionally and financially. That way you get alimony on top of the asset split. Marissa's voice. What if he fights it? Simon's voice. He won't. Accountants hate conflict. Show him the numbers. He'll fold like a cheap suit. Simon's face went gray. That's illegally recorded. That's evidence of conspiracy to commit fraud. Leo stepped forward. Want me to call the cops? Not yet. Alden walked over to the briefcases and counted the money methodically. $230,000 in various denominations. How much did you steal total? Alden asked. I don't know what you mean. Leo cracked his knuckles loudly. Approximately $3.2 million, Simon said quickly. Where's the rest? Cayman Islands. Offshore accounts. Access codes? I don't have to tell you anything. Alden nodded to Leo, who produced a can of paint thinner from his work bag. What's that for? Simon asked nervously. Motivation, Leo said, unscrewing the cap. The chemical smell filled the warehouse. Simon's eyes widened as he understood the implication. You wouldn't? My brother's very protective, Alden said calmly. 23 years of marriage means something to him, even if it doesn't mean anything to you. This is torture. This is justice. Leo began pouring paint thinner onto the concrete floor around Simon's chair. Account numbers, Alden said. Simon rattled off a series of numbers and passwords. Alden verified each one against his financial intelligence, confirming the hidden accounts. Transfer authorizations? On my phone, in the Porsche. Leo retrieved the device and brought it back. Under Alden's direction, Simon began transferring funds back to legitimate accounts in the United States. Every penny, Alden said. Leave nothing hidden. The government will just seize it anyway. The government will return it to your victims. It took 40 minutes to transfer $2.8 million from hidden accounts back to the financial system. Each transaction was documented and recorded. There, Simon said finally. It's all back. Good! Alden zip-tied Simon's feet to the chair legs. What are you doing now? Teaching you consequences. Alden pulled out a small digital camera and began recording. State your name for the record. I'm not saying anything else. Leo splashed paint thinner on Simon's expensive shoes. The chemical began eating through the leather immediately. Simon Carr, he said quickly. Describe your relationship with Marissa Clark. We're, we were having an affair. For how long? 8 months. Did you conspire with her to defraud her husband? Define conspiracy. More paint thinner, this time on his pants cuffs. Yes, we discussed her divorce strategy. But nothing illegal. Did you advise her to hide assets? That's standard divorce planning. Did you steal money from your real estate clients? Simon's resistance crumbled completely. Yes, how much? About $3 million. Over what time period? 3 years. Did you use stolen client funds to pay for hotel rooms, jewelry, and restaurants during your affair with Marissa Clark? Yes. Did you plan to flee the country tonight to avoid prosecution? Yes. Alden stopped recording. Thank you for your cooperation. He untied Simon's feet but left his hands bound. Now you're going to walk home. Walk home? 12 miles, through the industrial district. In paint thinner-soaked clothes. You can't be serious. I'm completely serious. Leo opened the warehouse's rear door, revealing empty streets stretching toward the distant city lights. It's 40 degrees outside, Simon protested. Then you better walk fast. This is kidnapping. This is a reality check. Alden pushed Simon toward the door. When you get home, if you get home, you're going to call the FBI and confess to everything. Every crime, every hidden account, every lie you've told. Or what? Or this video gets sent to your business partners, your country club, and every real estate professional in California. Simon looked at the camera in Alden's hand, then at the dark streets beyond the warehouse. I could die out there. You should have thought about that before you destroyed people's lives. Leo gave Simon a helpful push toward the exit. Better start walking, partner. Temperatures dropping. They watched Simon stumble into the night, paint-thinner fumes rising from his clothes like toxic cologne. His expensive suit was ruined, his Italian leather shoes dissolving with each step. Think he'll make it? Leo asked. I don't care. They drove back to the city in convoy, Leo following Alden to ensure Simon didn't double back or call for help. The warehouse district was deserted except for occasional security patrols. At 3:17 a.m., Alden's phone buzzed with a text message from an unknown number. I made it home. Calling FBI in the morning. Please don't release the video. Alden deleted the message without responding. Monday morning brought news that Simon had indeed contacted federal prosecutors, providing detailed confessions and financial records. His cooperation would reduce his sentence from 20 years to 8, assuming he testified against other conspirators. But Alden's focus had shifted to Marissa. She'd been staying at her sister's house since the weekend, avoiding contact and refusing to sign divorce papers. Her attorney had filed for temporary spousal support, claiming she was indigent and unable to work due to emotional distress. The claim was about to become reality. Tuesday afternoon, Alden received a call from Marissa's commercial real estate firm. Mr. Clark, this is Janet Morrison, office manager at Premier Properties. I'm calling about your wife's employment status. What about it? We've received some disturbing information about her personal conduct. Specifically, her relationship with a client who's been arrested for federal crimes. I see. The company can't be associated with that kind of publicity. Real estate is a trust-based business. Of course. We're terminating her employment effective immediately. Her final paycheck will be mailed to your address. Alden thanked her and hung up. 1 hour later, Marissa called in tears. They fired me! They actually fired me! I heard. This is your fault! You destroyed my reputation! You destroyed your reputation when you committed adultery with a federal criminal! I need that job, Alden. I can't pay my bills without income. You should have considered that before planning my financial ruin. I never planned anything. Simon misled me. The recorded conversations say otherwise. What recorded conversations? Alden played her the warehouse confession, focusing on Simon's admission that their affair was purely physical and his dismissive comments about her. Emotional investment. Simon's voice. Women read too much into these things. I never promised her anything permanent. The line went quiet except for Marissa's breathing. He said he loved me, she whispered finally. He said what you needed to hear. I threw away 23 years for nothing. You threw away 23 years for money. The fact that Simon was lying about his feelings doesn't change your motivations. I want to come home. This isn't your home anymore. Where am I supposed to go? That's not my problem. Wednesday morning, Alden drove to the office of Dr. Tasha Carr. Her divorce proceedings were moving swiftly. Simon's confession had eliminated any possibility of contested asset division. "How are you holding up?" Alden asked. "Better than expected. My attorney says I'll keep the house, the medical practice, and my retirement accounts. Simon gets whatever debt the federal government doesn't seize. That seems fair. What about you? How's your divorce progressing?" Marissa's refusing to cooperate. She still thinks she can salvage something from the wreckage. Can she? Not legally. California adultery laws are clear, especially when conspiracy is involved. Tasha leaned back in her office chair. "I keep thinking about all the signs I missed. Late meetings, suspicious expenses, changes in behavior. You trusted your husband. That's not a character flaw. It feels like one. Trust is earned. Simon violated that trust for his own selfish purposes. What happens now? Simon goes to federal prison. Marissa discovers that adultery has consequences. We move on with our lives. Is it really that simple? The practical parts are simple. The emotional parts take longer." That evening, Alden received an unexpected visitor. Marissa's father, Professor David Walsh, stood on his doorstep holding a bottle of bourbon and wearing a grim expression. "We need to talk," the older man said. Professor Walsh had been Alden's mentor in college, the reason he'd met Marissa in the first place. 68 years old, distinguished gray hair, the kind of academic who commanded respect without raising his voice. "Come in," Alden said. They settled in the living room with glasses of bourbon. Professor Walsh looked around at the house he'd visited countless times over the years. "Marissa told me her version of events," he said finally. "I'm sure she did. She claims you've been monitoring her communications illegally. I've been investigating my wife's criminal conspiracy. She says the affair was emotional, not financial." Alden retrieved his laptop and showed Professor Walsh the email correspondence between Marissa and Simon. The older man read quietly, his expression growing darker with each message. "Jesus Christ," he muttered. "She was planning to take you for everything, among other things. The part about hiding assets, conspiracy to commit fraud." Professor Walsh drained his bourbon and poured another. "I raised her better than this. You raised her to be independent and strong. Those aren't bad qualities. Independence doesn't include adultery and theft. No, it doesn't. What do you need from me? Nothing. This is between Marissa and me. She's my daughter. She's also an adult who made adult choices." Professor Walsh stood up and walked to the window overlooking the backyard where he'd played with Marissa as a child. 23 years, he said. "I watched you two build this life together. The house, the careers, the dreams about children. Some dreams don't come true. And some people throw away what they have for what they think they want. Yes. I'm ashamed of her." The words hung in the air between them. Professor Walsh was a man who chose his words carefully, and shame was not a concept he used lightly. "She's still your daughter," Alden said. "She's a stranger who looks like my daughter." Thursday morning brought the final piece of Alden's puzzle. Marissa had been served with divorce papers at her sister's house, along with a detailed financial disclosure showing their complete asset portfolio. The numbers were devastating. Joint savings, $340,000. Alden's retirement accounts, $890,000. House equity, $620,000. Investment portfolio, $450,000. Total marital assets, $2,300,000. Under normal circumstances, California law would have entitled Marissa to half of everything, $1,150,000 plus ongoing alimony. But adultery changed the calculation dramatically. Alden's attorney had documented the affair thoroughly, including financial evidence that Marissa had benefited from Simon's criminal activities. The jewelry, hotel rooms, and restaurant bills added up to nearly $50,000 in stolen funds. Receiving proceeds from criminal activity voided her claim to marital assets. More importantly, her conspiracy to hide assets during divorce proceedings constituted fraud, which carried both civil and criminal penalties. The settlement offer was simple. Marissa would receive $50,000, enough to relocate and start over, but nothing approaching her expected windfall. In exchange, Alden would not pursue criminal charges for conspiracy or civil remedies for fraud. She'll never accept it, Marissa's attorney warned during settlement negotiations. She'll accept it, Alden replied, because the alternative is federal prison. Friday afternoon, Marissa called one last time. $50,000? Her voice was shrill with outrage. After 23 years of marriage? After 8 months of adultery and conspiracy? I helped build everything we have. Then you helped destroy it. This is vindictive and cruel. This is justice. I'll fight it in court. With what money? You're unemployed and blacklisted in the real estate industry. My father will help. Your father won't return your calls. I know because he told me so. The line went quiet. He won't talk to me. He's ashamed of you. His words, not mine. Marissa started crying again, but the tears sounded different now. Less manipulative, more genuine. I made a mistake, she said. You made a series of calculated decisions. I can change. Change for the next man. You're done changing me. I love you. No, you don't. You love the financial security I provided. That's not true. The emails prove otherwise. I was confused. You were greedy. The call ended with Marissa hanging up. 1 hour later, her attorney called to accept the settlement offer. The divorce was finalized 3 weeks later in a sterile courtroom with fluorescent lighting and worn carpet. Marissa attended wearing a cheap dress and no jewelry, looking like a woman who'd aged 5 years in 5 months. She signed the papers without speaking and left immediately afterward. Alden never saw her again. Simon Carr was sentenced to 8 years in federal prison after pleading guilty to 19 felony counts. The cooperation agreement reduced his sentence but required full restitution to defrauded clients. His real estate licenses were revoked permanently. Dr. Tasha Carr kept her medical practice and married her tennis instructor 2 years later. She sent Alden a Christmas card with photos of their beach wedding. Marissa moved to Oregon and found work as a customer service representative for an insurance company. According to Leo's occasional internet searches, she lived alone in a studio apartment and drove a 10-year-old Honda. Professor Walsh died of a heart attack 18 months after the divorce. Marissa attended the funeral but sat alone in the back row. She didn't speak to any family members. Alden kept the house and returned to his accounting practice. Clients respected his discretion and thoroughness. He specialized in forensic accounting for divorce cases, helping other betrayed spouses uncover hidden assets and financial deception. The work was satisfying in ways he hadn't expected. On a Tuesday evening in late autumn, 2 years after the warehouse incident, Alden was reviewing case files when his doorbell rang. He opened the door to find Marissa standing on his porch. She looked thin and tired, wearing a coat that had seen better winters. Her car, an old sedan with Oregon plates, was parked at the curb. Hello, Alden. Marissa, can I come in? No, I just want to talk. We have nothing to discuss. I wanted to apologize. Apology noted. She pulled her coat tighter against the evening chill. I know I don't deserve forgiveness. You're right, you don't. But I hoped, maybe after time. Time doesn't change what you did. People can change. Some people, not you. You don't know that. Alden studied her face in the porch light. The years had not been kind. Lines around her eyes, gray in her hair, the kind of weariness that comes from chronic stress. I know you spent 8 months planning my destruction, he said. I know you took money from a criminal. I know you lied to my face every day while plotting to steal my retirement savings. I was lost. You were calculating. What if I was? What if I made terrible decisions for selfish reasons? Does that mean I can never be forgiven? It means you can never be forgiven by me. Marissa's shoulders sagged. I loved you once. Maybe, but you loved money more. Not money, security, stability. The life we built together. The life you destroyed for a bigger house and a younger man. Simon was never about age. Simon was about status and excitement and the promise of more money than I could provide. She started to argue, then stopped. After a moment, she nodded slowly. You're right, she said. About all of it. I know. I threw away the best thing in my life for a fantasy. Yes, you did. And now I have nothing. You have $50,000 and a job. Millions of people would consider that a fresh start. It's not enough. It's what you chose. Marissa looked past him into the house. Their former house, now his alone. The furniture was the same, but the photographs had been removed. No evidence of their marriage remained visible. "Do you ever think about the good times?" she asked. "Sometimes. Do you miss any of it?" Alden considered the question carefully. "I miss who I thought you were, but not who I actually am." "No." She nodded again and turned to leave, then paused. "I heard about your new business, helping other divorced people find hidden assets. Word travels. Are you happy?" "I'm satisfied. That's something, I guess. It's enough." Marissa walked down the porch steps and stopped beside her car. She looked back one more time. "I really am sorry, Alden, for everything. I know. Will you ever be able to forgive me?" Alden stepped forward slightly, close enough that she could hear him clearly. "You already died to me, Marissa. This is just your funeral." He went back inside and closed the door. Through the window, he watched her drive away. The taillights disappeared around the corner, and the street returned to its usual quiet. Alden poured himself a glass of bourbon and returned to his case files. A wealthy surgeon suspected his wife of hiding assets before filing for divorce. The financial patterns were obvious once you knew what to look for. He began building spreadsheets, documenting suspicious transactions, preparing to uncover another web of lies and betrayal. The work was methodical, precise, satisfying. Outside, autumn wind rattled the windows of his empty house. But the emptiness felt clean now, not hollow. 23 years of marriage had ended in betrayal and revenge, but the ledger was finally balanced. The end.